I want to go right to Rachel Sutherland, who's standing by right now. We are going into the longest government shutdown. Well, we're already in that, but we're going into week number 4, and the president trying to come up with a solution. It seems over the weekend. Rachel, what do we know to start the week off?
Hey, good morning. Well, there could be legislation brought to the Senate floor as soon as tomorrow that the president says is a compromise offer, but that Democrats are rejecting. What it would do is give the president $5.7 billion in border wall funding and also border security. And in exchange, he's offering a 3-year fix for those immigrants who are brought here illegally as children, the so-called dreamers, the DACA recipients. Democrats say, no, they want to open the government first, then negotiate. So far, there's no break to the impasse, but we will see what happens when this is brought to the floor tomorrow. They would need to, I believe, swing over. Republicans need to bring about 7 Democrats over to their side, and it's just unclear whether the numbers are there.
It does seem that Democrats are complaining that he's not willing to give up a permanent fix to the DACA issue, yes. And they would give up a permanent fix to the wall, if you will. And the other thing I found interesting is there was one, this was on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace, there was one Democratic representative who called the wall the president's monument. Almost.
Might have been James Clyburn, yeah.
I believe it was, which I thought that's the first time I'd heard that, and that's kind of an interesting take. Up to this point, we've heard about how this is a campaign promise, but a monument to the president.
Yeah, that's how some Democrats may be perceiving this. Others, like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, have called it immoral. Their heels are dug in on this just as much as the president is dug in, and here we are beyond 30 days now, and it's getting real for a lot of people. Some of those are going ahead and filing for unemployment, the ones who are furloughed, but we have found out that essential personnel, the ones that are working without pay, can't get unemployment, so they've still got to pay for their commutes.
Yeah.
Some of them are calling in sick because they can't pay for their commutes. And so really we're, again, in uncharted territory, and it seems like there's no end in sight.
This does seem like it is a step in the right direction anyway.
Well, at least having something on the table.
Somebody's talking. They're talking. So
they're talking, yes. That's stay positive. Yeah.
All right, Rachel, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. How about football yesterday? Have you
it was great.
I mean, you have to be thinking the Super Bowl is going to be a letdown.
Oh, absolutely. It can't be any better than that. Chiefs-Patriots game was unbelievable.
And Andrew, I have to disagree, and I'm a Bills fan who I hate the Patriots. But I got to tell you, this was Tom Brady basically saying, and the Patriots saying, you said we were washed up. This is not the same Patriots team. And I got to tell you, it was impressive.
I never said they were washed up for the record, but it's like, No,
I'm just talking about your anger and
no,
I'm just
I know.
Listen, you got to be a little bit like, wow, Tom Brady, right?
I think I had said to you on Thursday or Friday that I thought it was interesting because I was kind of rooting for New England. Now, during the game yesterday, they're up 14-0. I'm pulling hard for the Chiefs. I always want to see a good game. But I did kind of like the element of they were underdogs. They said he was underdog for the first time in, I don't know, was it 14 years or something?
Yeah.
It was the first time he was an underdog in a playoff game. And, they say that those two are the greatest of all time. And certainly with their backs at the wall in that situation on the road against Andy Reid, it was just unbelievable, man. You just can't stop them.
In the earlier game, did you watch closely the earlier game?
No, I fell asleep. I missed the second half.
Pass interference miss.
Oh, that was horrible.
I got to tell
I saw
you,
it on replay.
Changed the game. The Saints win that game if pass interference is called.
And I was pulling for the Rams in the hopes that the Chiefs would win. But now that the Patriots won, I kind of hoped the Saints had won it because it would have been a little more exciting.
I got to tell you, that was the most blatant pass interference I think I have ever seen go as a no call.
Well, actually, it could have been personal foul, too, for defenseless receiver.
Yeah,
because
it was helmet to the head.
Unbelievable.
I can't even. And guess what? There's at that point, there's 2 minutes or under 2 minutes left.
Was that in regulation or was that in overtime?
No, that was regulation.
That would have been it.
They would have gotten a first down. They could have easily just marched down to the 2-yard line and kicked the field goal, and left left the Rams with no time, and instead they kick the field goal and they leave the Rams with 2 minutes to march it back down the field. Then it goes into overtime, and I get it. They end up losing in overtime, but the game never goes to overtime if that pass interference is called.
That's rough. Sean Payton, I guess I get it, but they kept playing the clip of him in the second game. They told me they blew it. Yeah, they blew it, and it does look kind of. They blew the call. They certainly blew the call. I just hate to see the coach out there saying, we should have won, but the refs robbed us.
He's absolutely correct. I don't know how you missed that call, and it does make you think. And he brought this up. That there should be more of a replay. You should be able to look at potentially, I guess, penalties. Don't they in college? Is it college they're able to look at a call and then call a flagrant penalty, but they can't in the NFL? Or
Yeah.
I think I've seen it in the NFL, haven't I?
I don't think they do in the NFL, right? College, because I have seen that before, because they do ejections quick. It can be one hit.
A lot of times it's the review. It's the review determining whether or not it was targeting, and if it's targeting, you're gone. So maybe that is college ball. So maybe there needs to be a change there. I mean, why not?
A lot of people are saying, speaking of rule changes, that the overtime rules need to be changed for the playoffs too. Because if you think about it, it's always been the same way, but they never had the. Would have liked to have Mahomes have the ball one
shot
more
to
time.
Come back.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Well, and it's the luck of the draw that gives you that first shot to come down the field, and the only team that has the first shot to score a touchdown is the one who wins the coin toss, or the defense if they were to intercept or
if they were to if New England kicked a field goal, they would have had the chance to possess.
Yeah, but the only team to have a chance to win is the team that wins the coin toss and ultimately scores a touchdown, unless there's a turnover and they run it back and score a touchdown. Well, that's the only team that has the advantage of winning outright because of the coin toss. Am I making any sense?
Yeah. I mean, it used to be a field goal, to be honest with you.
It used to be a field goal.
That game would have been over. I mean, it would have been much less dramatic than it was. It's like
especially after some of those field goals yesterday. You're talking. He could have
57 in the Saints game.
It's and that one I think could have gone 70 yards out. It was unbelievable. So these field goal kickers are incredible. But it used to be. You win the coin toss, you get it down, you kick a field goal, the game's over. At least now, I think it's a little better. But maybe both teams should have the shot to score. At least in the playoffs.
The penalty in the Saints game.
Yeah.
I was kind of getting worn out by. There was a string of, in the Chiefs game, there was a string of like 5 plays in a row, it seemed like, where they had to go under the booth for a review. Oh, it was ridiculous. Yeah. Now, granted, it was warranted. The punt, were you going crazy in your living room on the punt where Edelman, they said he touched the ball, but he didn't actually touch the ball. And then just quickly, like that, there was the interception.
I thought he did not touch the ball.
I was in
and I thought that
too.
was the right call. And the very next play, you're like, well, maybe he did touch the ball, and God has just intercepted here.
Yeah. The divine intervention. Interception.
Because that was crazy. And at that point, you're like, okay, this game is now. I think this game is over. So it was something to watch. What a game! What 2 games to watch, and it makes you wonder: will the Super Bowl just be
a total
uneventful?
Yeah. Just another thought on that. It seemed like at that point in the game, the call, whether or not Edelman touched the punt or not, was going to decide the game. But it had nothing to do with the outcome of the game, right? I mean, there was so much that happened after that.
That was such a good game.
I know. It was unbelievable.
Brady dropped an F-bomb at the post-game interview. I don't know if you stuck around for that. I didn't.
No.
After emotionally thanking his wife.
Unbelievable, bro. Okay. This is crazy. What a game.
At this point, you got to know. Don't you know you don't drop the F word? But, hey,
he's been there 100
it's Brady.
times, yeah.
He's been there enough, I guess. All right, a news update. Weather update. It is frigid. We're well below 0, depending on where you are. You might be in the range of 5 below. Here down in Marcy, it's 9 below 0 right now. Very, very cold. wind chills. All the meteorologists are talking about how beware, your face could fall off. So beware. We'll do news and weather and tell you where we're going with all this. Coming up here at 6:31, it's Monday, Martin Luther King Day. No school, no mail, no banks today. Hold on, we're coming right back at WIBX. You can read comments from people. Some people feel like, wow, this was it was a big dud. It wasn't any big storm. I remember storms when I was a kid. Yeah, I get all that. But we still got a foot of snow. If I can get out of my drive, one statement on my Facebook page said, if I can get out of my driveway, then it's not a bad storm. Okay, you're right. And last year, right, we got a really bad, it just kept snowing. We've had a couple of those in the last few years. 2-3 feet of snow. Yeah, I get that. But still, it was a foot of snow. And the roads were crappy. And it was, however, I think it was an overreaction by the governor to come here and wave this flag of I'm here to protect you. And then what did he think he was going to do by banning buses and tractor trailers from the thruway? And I get it. If you remember in Buffalo, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when they got hit with that horrible lake effect snow? And they got like 8 feet of snow in some spots. And vehicles were stranded on the thruway for days. It was a terrible situation. But that wasn't going to happen in the storm. That wasn't even predicted in this storm. He banned buses and tractor trailers. We were coming back from Boston, and we were going down into Providence and going to spend the day. We were going to spend the day in Providence and then come back at night. But because of the storm, I'm like, well, maybe. Well, I wasn't. I'm like, we can do it. And my wife is like, no, we have to go home because we don't want to be driving on the thruway in the middle of the storm. So we drove all the way back, not a single snowflake until we hit Amsterdam, and then the snow started. So the trip, so I was good for about an hour. By the time I hit Little Falls, maybe a little less than an hour, by the time we hit Little Falls, the snow was really coming down, and it had covered the roads, and the visibility was poor. So the ride from Little Falls to Utica and Utica to home was rough. I will tell you that. It was slick. The visibility was poor, and the snow was really coming down. But there was no reason to ban tractor trailers. So what are you going to do? So say you get on the thruway down near New York City, and the governor issues this ban. A, you might not know it. It's possible.
Right.
And B, what do? And what if you're a bus? Say you went to a game or you did a New York City trip, and you're on a bus and you're on your way home. Well, now you can't take the thruway because you couldn't. And troopers were pulling tractor trailers over. I saw 3 tractor trailers pulled over by state police.
Oh, my God.
If you think about it,
because they were on the highway, they weren't supposed to be.
The worry was that a jackknife could cause huge delays and, cause problems, safety issues, and all that, which is understandable. But so then it's riskier for a tractor trailer to have to go onto a smaller highway or a back road.
So what are you doing with them? It'd be one thing if
not plowed.
They're going to be going off on, and I understand it's not going to affect, they wouldn't affect the traffic like the thruway accident would. But there wasn't that much traffic on the thruway. People knew the storm was coming. Most people were off the thruway anyway. Like, we stopped at the rest area, whatever that one is, near Amsterdam. I guess it's Schenectady. So we stopped there. That's where the snow first started to fall. And it was empty. There was no one there in the parking lot. There was nobody there except for tractor trailers that had pulled over and were like, I don't know, what do? You sleep in those things? I think you do. But and then to come here and make the announcement, you were at the announcement, I just felt that was just overkill. He searches for a headline with whatever adversity he can find.
Speaking of building monuments for President Trump, I think he wanted someone to build him a giant snowman. Look at this amazing Governor Cuomo snowman out here in central New York. I just thought it was ridiculous. Andrew was there, but I thought it was so ridiculous for him to come with the plow drivers having to go 24/7 that night. That was what was expected. To waste those resources.
I know.
Waste those resources to bring trucks in for all this visual stuff. I just don't know.
I think he came all the way from Albany to Utica just to warn Mayor Palmieri not to drive the snowplow. That's why I think he came. I could be wrong.
Well, the mayor was there, and he was very happy that the governor was there. He was very complimentary of the governor over and over again.
Well, I guess you would probably expect that, and probably so was everybody else. There was no one criticizing the governor publicly, but I just think it was a waste. And we didn't get that much snow. We got a foot of snow, 18 inches, close to 2 feet in some spots. But I get it. It's the first big snowstorm of the year, probably our second real snowstorm of the season. But we're okay to handle this.
Yeah,
we didn't need that.
To the point of
the ban was stupid. I really think it was stupid.
Did you want to know what Richard was emailing me this weekend? All right, first of all, Richard all week last week was saying this was going to be a dud. It was going to be a dud storm. There's no precipitation, not enough precipitation to warrant 2 feet of snow. So then he messages me like Saturday afternoon. Oops, I think I was wrong.
Yeah.
Then he messages me this morning.
I give him credit for admitting his incorrectness.
Well, and then he emails me this morning. Like I said, no 20 inches of snow. I said under a foot. And then he ran down some storm totals. I think this is wrong, though. He says Syracuse got less than 6 inches. There's no way.
Syracuse got less than we did.
Did they really?
I believe so. And you can check. I have it on our story. So if you go to WIBX950.com, there's a storm total story there, which came from yesterday afternoon. They might have gotten a little more. Yes, it's possible that the lake effect snow, I'll tell you right now what Syracuse got. As of yesterday at around noon, hold on, Onondaga, Syracuse, 8 inches of snow. As of yesterday this is yesterday at 8:24 a.m., the city of Syracuse got 8 inches. It might have gotten more as the day went on because they were subject to a little of that lake effect that we didn't get. So you want some storm totals? I'll give you what I have here. Holland Patton. As of yesterday afternoon, Holland Patton, 18 inches of snow, leading everybody. Paris, 16.1. Forestport, 14.5. Camden, 14. Dowdesville, 12. Deerfield Heights, 12. New Hartford, 11.5. Mohawk, 11.5. Sequoia, the same thing. Whitesboro with 11 inches. Clinton, 10 inches. 7.6 inches in Marcy. But that one might not be complete. There might be a little bit more because I think we have more than 7 inches of snow outside the studio here. In Madison County, 15 inches. In Erieville, Oneida had 14.5 inches. And as I said, Syracuse with 8 inches. And probably somewhere between 8 inches and a foot in Otsego. Everybody pretty much got the same. But Syracuse did not get hit as hard as we did. So it was a bit nasty if you were driving it. And it happened right as the Comets game got out. So that game went early on Saturday. It was a 2 o'clock start for the game, and just as the game was ending is when the storm was beginning to hit. So those people that were leaving the game got to drive home on a little bit of it. But anyway, not the biggest storm we've ever had in the world, but it was a significant snowfall, right?
Yeah, and
it was a snow. We got a foot of snow.
It's a lot of snow. So
and it's probably worse today. The wind didn't get as bad as I'm sure in some of the higher elevations where wind and drifting snow is a problem. It was pretty nasty yesterday, but for the most part, we really didn't get all that much wind. But it's cold this morning. We're definitely below zero.
And to the point that people always make when we get a snowstorm and they say, well, when I was a kid, the snowbanks were higher. I saw yesterday on Main Street in Whitesboro, they had, I think it's called the bucket loader. They were stacking up all the snow. I mean, it must have been 20 feet in the air. Now, obviously, that's not a typical snowbank. They had cleared out Main Street. They have a lot of parking along the roadway there. So they had a lot of area to clear and parking lots, and they just kept building it up into this pile. But I think kids are off today. I'm telling you, I think that's going to be a popular snow hill for kids today.
And for those people that say, listen, snowbanks used to be higher, that's because they did. And I do think the technology we have today is better. But the snowstorms were worse back then. They really were. I mean, you had ski resorts in the region. They don't exist anymore because we don't get the snow that we used to get. And it really is, we don't get what we used to get. I know that makes me sound old, but it's absolutely true. How about, I want to get away from the weather. Somebody is raising money on Kickstarter so they have a concept, they have a prototype, and this is awesome. It is a new iPhone case that lets you attach a plastic fork or spoon so it's easier to eat and text at the same time.
Oh, my goodness.
Aren't you excited? The promo video they posted makes a bit of fun of it, I guess, almost as if it's a joke, but they are raising money. It's the spoon and fork with a PH for your iPhone case.
Having trouble using your smartphone over a meal? Worry not, there is a solution. Introducing spoon and fork? Okay. A special case that turns your phone into a spoon or a fork.
And it allows you, as you're feeding yourself, to be able to read the text messages. Listen, I realize it's stupid, but if that was out before Christmas, I would have bought one and given it to both of you. Because it looks like it's kind of a cool gag gift, right? It'd be a cool holiday gag gift, and it probably will sell. What else did I want to do? A 29-year-old guy in Florida jumped a fence into a field while he was running from the cops last Wednesday and got chased by a group of horses. Police were able to catch him right after because they had a helicopter tracking him. Here is the police audio as it all went down.
Okay, he's bailing. Not quickly. He just kind of got out. Now he's running. Still running west. There's a field back here with, looks like farm animals. He's crossing into the field now. He's running across a field. Jumped over a fence. Horse just chased him down. 20 feet to your left, right now. Right now.
Right there. Let me see your hands. You're going to fit. Hands up. Get your hands up. Back up. Hands up. Don't move. You will get dog bit. Don't move. You'll be dog bit.
You guys got him?
Yeah, they got him. Stand by.
Everyone, thank you for the help. Everybody else, thank you very much. Great job, everyone.
I do think the bless you. I do think the cop in the helicopter was enjoying it a little bit because he was doing a little like a little almost like he was calling a horse race a little bit, and there were horses. They were chasing the guy.
You know what I think is funny though, coming from the guy in a helicopter, he's like, oh, he's out of his car. He's running, but not very fast. Well, you're in a helicopter, 200 feet over him.
If it was
sure
like
everything
horse
looks
race,
slow.
Okay, 8 to 10. He's on his tail. Oh, I guess sentencing is chasing him as well. Different horse names.
I don't know if you saw the story over the weekend at the Lincoln Memorial. There was a Native American protest or demonstration that was going on, and there was a group of young boys, mostly, from a Catholic school in Kentucky. Did you see the story?
I saw the video. I didn't get the...
And you saw it, and they were wearing Make America Great hats again. So the thought was that this one young kid in the photo was basically making fun of and picking on this Native American man who was protesting, and he was banging on a drum and singing a Native American song. But now, and there's been a lot of criticism. Even the school has come out and has criticized the students. Now, this was an anti-abortion March for Life rally that they were at, and the students from the Catholic school were coming in support of that rally. Okay? So the story broke, and there's been a lot of criticism, thought that maybe the kids should be expelled. Well, like anything else in this country right now, there's now another side to the story. And now there are people that are calling for the principal of the Catholic school to be fired and to step down because the principal rushed to judgment. So my take on this whole thing is that that probably all sides were a little bit guilty in this, and that probably no sides were completely innocent, although there are people trying to claim that the boys involved with the Make America Great hats on are completely innocent. So, and when you see the photo, it's kind of hard to see that, but we know that a lot of times a photo will, here's the picture.
Yes.
So this is the Native American, the old guy, and there's the boy that's staring him down and smiling at him. Now, the kid now says, he released a statement, and this is in the New York Times last night, from a PR firm, by the way. This kid's statement came from a PR firm, and the kid is saying, I was smiling to let the Native American know that I was not going to be elevated to any violence. So I was staring him down, smiling, because I wanted him to know that I was not going to take the bait to be violent. But they claim that the Indian, although I'm not supposed to say Indian, right? So Native American was kind of making the most out of the situation and taunting him. But at the same time, there was a black group. You know those guys that protested in New York City? If you're ever walking through Times Square, and there's the group of black men, they're dressed in white. They're not Muslims. They're not. It's the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
So, and they tend to like spew a lot of anti-white stuff, and they were chanting anti-white stuff at the they say at the Native Americans and at the young Catholic boys. And the Catholic boys began starting to chant back, and then the Native American is singing this Native American song, and the Catholic boys began singing along to the Native American song quite loudly. The Native American claims the boys were mocking their song. I mean, do you get the feel that maybe all parties probably played a role in this, and that there's not one side? Which initially it was labeled that the young men, the Catholic boys, were completely at fault. But do you get a feeling like that everybody might have had a little bit to do with this?
Absolutely. And if it means you're not going to explain it again, I will agree.
I understand it's hard to understand, right? It's
well,
hard
no,
to follow.
but even when I watched the initial video and I saw the headlines of this school had to apologize and I saw the video, I thought based on the tension, because the guy was kind of close hitting the drum, I thought the kid was going to hit him. So I was waiting for the kid to tackle him or hit him or whatever, and nothing happened. I'm like, what's this? What's going on?
And that never did happen. And, you know, a video like this could really harm the kid's opportunity to go to college. Schools might not be interested in him because, I don't know his story, but at the same time, initially, here's the nutshell. Initially, the boy was getting all the blame, and the Catholic students. Well, his PR firm has stood up to make sure that everyone knows that he's not the only one to blame, that they're claiming that he was completely innocent, and I don't buy that. My guess is they had to be making fun of everybody involved, wouldn't you think? And the Native American has been protesting like this since the 1960s. He knows an opportunity when he sees one. And the Nation of Islam guys, well, they just hate whites. Yeah. So they're running with their crap. It just seemed like a situation that was close to getting out of control, but didn't. I'm not sure anyone should lose their careers or be kicked out of school or fired from their school because of this situation. So kind of a little bit of a rest of the story in released today from the New York Times. So take it for what it is. But it was an interesting story over the weekend. And the photo itself makes you really think like that kid is a young punk who's being very disrespectful to the Native American. We'll talk more about it. Maybe we won't. Coming up, free money question of the day from Habaika. Next hour at WIBX. Did you see, here it is today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Did you see that another newscaster made another mistake when it came to Martin Luther King's name?
You're kidding.
And the exact same mistake.
No way.
Honest to God. Wow. I can't. I might have to take you up on your offer to switch headphones because I can't even hear to
It's fine.
Make this whole thing work today. I grabbed the wrong headphones. An old pair that I use for a TV shoot that if somebody needs headphones, it's only one ear, and it's driving me nuts. I went back into the house. I couldn't open my garage door because water had frozen, which is a long story, but I finally kicked it open. I got everything open. Went back into the house because I realized my headphones were not on my bag like they're always attached to my bag. They had fallen off. So I went in, searching, grabbed what I thought were the correct headphones, and they're the broken ones. Anyway, this newscaster was talking about Martin Luther King Jr., and on Thursday morning in St. Louis was doing a story on how St. Louis University would be honoring MLK when he said Martin Luther, C-O-O-N. Junior. It's the exact same thing the other guy did, the weather guy did, from Rochester 2 weeks ago. Here's the audio.
Back here at home, a special event will get underway this morning to remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life.
How do you... is there a subconscious, though, that says, boy, I hope I never do that? Oh, my God, I did it. I guess there could be. Here he is.
Maybe he said King Jr.? He was combining King
and Jr.?
He
clearly says Coon, if you listen. I can't play it again. I'll play it here. Here he's apologizing.
I want to take a moment to apologize. We have heard from a viewer about a mistake I made in our 5 a.m. newscast this morning. In our story about the tribute to Dr. King, I unfortunately mispronounced his name. Please know I have total respect for Dr. King, what he meant and continues to mean to our country. This was not intentional in any way, and I sincerely apologize.
Is it possible that he realizes he's going to get national attention? And by the way, the station completely stood by him. They said they interviewed him, and you know what? Where we are today, the NAACP in St. Louis is calling for him to be fired.
They are.
They are. Yeah.
And they
here's the clip again. Listen to it.
Back here at home, a special event will get underway this morning to remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life.
He didn't say coon, it was Kuhn. Like, oh my God, what did I just say? I can't tell because I can't hear in my headphones, so I don't know what he's saying. He could have said liver for all I know.
Yeah, I think you said it right. You know,
well, by the standards of Buffalo or Rochester, he's got to get fired.
There are times that it's. And I've never made a mistake like this. Okay, but I guess I probably will now. But like sometimes you say something wrong at 5 a.m. and you're like, it was 5 a.m.
Yeah, I'm glad you know, 5 o'clock.
Did you hear what he said though? He goes, we had a call from one viewer.
Somebody heard
one viewer.
So interestingly, I remember as a wedding DJ years ago, I was told when you announce the mother, father, or the mother and son dance, make sure you don't announce so-and-so because there's a problem. He doesn't like his real mother, and they don't get along. So do not announce her. She's here, just don't announce her. So I'm like, okay, I won't do it. I won't do it. And what did I do? I did it. I did not do it on purpose. I felt awful. I felt like I wasn't going to get paid. And they're looking at me like, what the frick is wrong with you? We told you not to say that. Oh, my God, I just ruined this guy's wedding. So I guess there is something where when you're hyper-focusing on don't say something that you make a mistake, I guess. Here's the other incident. This is from the meteorologist in Rochester. He was fired from his job.
He just hasn't gotten his job
I don't
back?
believe so. Al Roker, Don Lemon, Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter came to his defense.
Don Lemon came to his defense?
I thought Don Lemon did not come to his defense, to be honest with you, but this report says that he did. But anyway, here's what he said.
Great. This is the way it looked out at Martin Luther King Jr. Park, the ice rink.
Okay. Very small. The NAACP called for his firing. The station in Rochester, New York, just down the thruway, they did. They fired him. Here he is apologizing for that slur.
If you watch me regularly, you know that I tend to contain a lot of information in my weathercast, which forces me to speak fast. And unfortunately, I spoke a little too fast when I was referencing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So fast to the point where I jumbled a couple of words. Now, in my mind, I knew I mispronounced, but there was no malice. There was nothing that I could have. I had no idea the way it came across to many people.
Can I tell you why this is happening, in my opinion? And no one has even talked about this, but just put the words together. You have King, and so you're thinking, how could he get the word coon out of King? How could you do that? I'll tell you how you could get there. Because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Junior. And if you take King and slip and do June,
I can see that.
That's where that comes from. Yeah. This is why it's happened twice.
Yeah, the King.
Well, I think
it is not. Although the second guy, I kind of wonder if he's like, you want to see what I'm going to do this morning? I'm going to get tons of publicity. The station says it's going to back me. This is going to be good.
No, I actually think the second guy is a result of don't say this. Don't like you said. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Whatever
don't say
you do not make that mistake.
Don't go to break, Bill.
But I'm going to.
You better not do it.
But I'm going to tell you though, Martin Luther King Jr. And when you slip up very quickly, like he said, I'm putting all these words together. If you put King and June together, you're going to get.
Yeah, when
you're going to get.
I see what you're saying.
I don't understand why no one has brought that up out of this thing. Put the two together because everybody's like, how could it ever happen? It's impossible. Oh, it isn't impossible.
No,
that's
King
Jr.
That's
what will come out of that if you slur them together. No pun intended on the word slur, by the way. we'll break. You want me to take a break?
No.
It just popped into my head. I think we should take a break.
I don't think we need one.
I think we should.
He's feeling this reverse psychology is going to really work on me. Well, it's going to. It's going to. I got a break at WIBX. You go through headphones, man. But thank you. 7:18. It's Monday morning, Martin Luther King Day. I just leave it at King. I don't bring in the junior.
No, don't do it.
Don't bring in the junior, because nothing good comes out of that. In studio right now is Devin Mahoney and Ryan Kemp. Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. These guys. So, Devin, you and is it your wife,
Brianna?
Okay, you guys have purchased. Am I correct in saying
we have established a nonprofit organization that has taken ownership.
So your group has purchased.
The group now has ownership. It was a donation. To the nonprofit. So
Very nice.
the nonprofit group, the board actually now owns it.
And your goal is to bring back the Uptown Theater, not only to maybe in some cases what it used to be, but what it could be in the future.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We want to restore it to its original beauty, and also add some new perks like high tech equipment and really make it a destination spot.
Now, interestingly, the Uptown never used to have a stage, but it was built towards the end when they had a new vision for the.
There was a stage there.
Okay, because I've gone back and forth with the original owners. Well, the most.
I don't know if it was
previous
originally intact. You know, I knew it was rebuilt to some degree, but it was originally an old vaudeville house and silent movie stage. So there was
some sort.
There had to be some sort of stage at some point. Graham Chapman played there for Monty Python in 1988. Opened up his American Comedy Tour there.
That's really cool.
There were some, and there were some concerts in there. So there was. I never knew, but
I used to go there to watch movies. And,
sure, me too.
It was. Was it 2 theaters?
It was 1 and then 3, and it is now 1 again.
Okay, so you took out all the things that took away from.
We haven't done anything in there yet. The last owner took down the walls, and it's down essentially to square one now.
Got it.
It's one square. It's a big square empty box.
You just got an $8,600 grant. Could you talk about that and what that's going to be used for?
Yeah, we're working with the Preservation League of New York State. They just gave us that grant to do a feasibility study, which essentially is going to enable us to. We've already hired a preservation architect from Albany to come in. Basically check on all the conditions of everything, do a history report, and ultimately that's going to tell us the best way to go about rehabbing the building in a way that we can preserve it.
I think I might have told you the story about the school.
Yes.
And the plaster.
Yes.
That came off the ceiling.
Yeah.
Did they tell you that when you took over the building? Did
no,
they warn you about that?
I think they wanted. They were so glad that someone was interested. Yeah. They just were mum.
Hey, the plaster up there, as solid can be.
Yeah.
Good luck. We'll see you later.
Thanks.
That's kind of how it went. But but it's an old building that over years, in some cases, maybe there was a shutdown at times. So so this will help kind of get in there and do a study to say, okay, here's what you guys are in for. This is what this is going to. Yeah. This is what you're going to have to.
Yeah, essentially, and the best way to go about doing it, and also with an eye towards keeping its original use intent,
which is really cool. All right, so we're also talking with Ryan Kemp, who's in here. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning,
Ryan. You are in the midst of teaching stand-up comedy classes.
That's correct. Yeah.
So explain how that works and what your background is. I'm assuming it's in stand-up.
Yeah, it is. It's in stand-up. Actually, mostly joke writing. Also, I've worked in Los Angeles. Devin and I'm from Rochester. Devin and I met in Syracuse, sort of grad school, and then we actually met in Los Angeles. Started hanging out there. We both worked on Scrubs, the TV show, and then just went from there. And we've both been working out there for about 13 years. I'm still currently back and forth. I'm working on a pilot right now with Bill Lawrence and Jason Sudeikis, Joe Kelly, and another SNL guy. But so
the construction of a joke, there is a science to it.
Sure, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's what you're teaching.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different constructions to jokes, but I'm focusing on just basic finding your voice and finding out what you can do in your favorite style, because there's storytelling, there's one-liners, there's blue stuff, there's a lot of different versions you can do.
Are you watching Mrs. Maisel?
Yeah. absolutely.
Awesome, right?
It's fantastic.
That is such a great show.
It's really great.
And I think there's some. I still believe, although I think the writers are saying not really. It might be one of the writers' fathers. I think it goes back to that he's. But you got to feel a little Joan Rivers in there when you're watching.
Oh,
this.
yeah,
absolutely,
right?
It's great.
Yeah.
Through those early days of comedy with Lenny Bruce and all of that
fantastic.
awesome
Absolutely.
stuff. So.
We've been actually having a lot of fun diving in, watching. I'm taking Ryan's class, actually.
Oh, you are? That's cool.
So it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I've been teaching improv classes for the last 8 months, so this is the first one I get to teach.
Neat.
Ryan's our first guest instructor, hopefully the first of many. But it's been a lot of fun deep diving into all those old people, you know.
And when you think about the history where you could, at one point, and not too long ago, like even music, what was it, Two Live Crew we were talking about, 90s, where they were going in and getting arrested for obscenity. Yep. But in those early days of comedy in New York City with Lenny Bruce, he would oftentimes just get arrested for the jokes. And in Mrs. Maisel, they show where she was arrested because women just did not talk about anything dirty. That
and even Lenny
happen.
Bruce, it was stuff that today would, we wouldn't blink at. You know?
It's crazy.
So it's crazy to see how far we've come in terms of even being freedom of speech. You know.
So with that said, what do you guys think about? I'm going to drag you right into this. What do you think about like the Kevin Hart stuff going on? And stuff that was I've owned several comedy clubs over the years. So one when I was in Providence, two here. I love comedy, love going to comedy clubs, and I got to tell you that some of the stuff is pretty raw.
Yeah,
yes,
that has been done over the years. How do we go back to people 15, 20 years ago and say you did that? Now we're going to punish you today.
I don't think that's fair, right? Depending on the case, but norms change and standards change. So to go back and if you watch Eddie Murphy Raw, it's really raw.
It's raw.
Yeah. And so even Blazing Saddles is kind of hard to watch sometimes today. So to judge stuff by standards from before is tough. So I don't think that's always necessarily fair. If the person isn't still doing that. But the big rule for me and Ryan over at the Uptown, we've actually been having a lot of conversations like this because people sometimes want to get in there and think that being raw and shocking is the best way to be funny.
Right.
And that is a tactic. And it does work, but for us, the big thing is who's your target, and we don't want people punching down. We want people using comedy to, as satire to speak truth to power, and not go after people that are traditionally.
Well, there's so many things you can go after. Right?
Sure, absolutely. There's so many things that we can all agree on to go after, right? Like let's not hurt people's feelings.
Right.
I think is the thing.
Yeah, and at the same time, we got to make sure we remember why comedy is here in the first place. It's to help us deal with and understand and wrap our heads around the stuff that causes us stress and how to figure it out. Really,
and it's great therapy. Come on, take a class.
It is.
Take a class.
The people that are coming out, we've got a great community that's growing and building.
I think it's important to understand comedy before you start becoming Lisa Lampanelli.
Right.
You might want to understand the mechanics of
and that's
comedy
what we're,
and a joke.
Yes, absolutely.
Because placed into someone who's knows just enough to get themselves in trouble, you can do just that.
And I think that's what we told them. In the first class was let's learn how to tell a joke. We're not going to solve racism or abortion today in level 1, but maybe in level 3, when we understand how to tell a joke, then we can try to figure out how to be smart about making.
So the last comedy club that I was in Washington Mills, it was Fat Cat's Comedy Club, and I have to tell you that the 10:30 show was always on Saturday night was always the one where the comic would come out and say, all right, seems like you guys are a lot of fun, so I'm going to tell you some blank jokes. And whatever that was, it would always make you cringe a little bit, but you wouldn't do that at the 8 o'clock show.
Sure.
And you think about some of the stuff that is said in comedy clubs. It's very difficult. I find it very hard. This whole Kevin Hart thing, I think, is really unfair.
Yeah. I mean... Am I allowed to say I agree with him?
You can say whatever you want.
And I'm not endorsing. But it's pretty unfair.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point of growth is that if you do something wrong or say something wrong, and then 15 years later, you're like, hey, I screwed up. That was not okay.
Yeah, based on today's standards, I look at even Ellen DeGeneres coming out in support of him. Hello, it's Ellen saying, "Cut this guy a break here."
Yeah,
so.
but case to case, right? I don't know the Kevin Hart one enough to speak to it. I think, but
maybe, yeah.
But I think someone like Louis C.K., who I was a huge fan of, who probably could have been the person to make sense of this and tackle it if he addressed it in a real way and said that he had learned his lesson, but instead just jumped back and was like, "It's been 6 weeks, let's go again." That's not the way to do it. So. Thought, and dialogue. I think
it is a different world today. So you got to be aware of that, and probably aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
And this day and age, aware of the fact that everybody's got a camera.
Yep.
So just when you think that the crowd is perfect, there's somebody videotaping it. It goes up online.
Absolutely.
And you're in big trouble. So, all right. So I didn't mean to drag you into that. I know you're talking about the classes.
No, not at all. Point something out quickly. I thought it was great. You said, "Can I ask you?" And Devin went, "Yeah." And then you went about the Kevin Hart thing, and your face went, "Damn."
Well, here's the thing. I just want to make sure so I'm here. We're representing ourselves, but I'm also with the nonprofit. So everything I say is my own opinion and does not reflect on the Uptown. But I'm happy to jump into a comedy conversation.
And let me tell you, I don't for a minute think that, what's his name, Andrew, who was injured, the SNL guy injured in the,
Davidson.
The Walmart.
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. I'm a big fan of Tracy Morgan.
Sure.
Yeah. Have you seen Tracy Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I took friends there that walked away saying, that was way too dirty for me, because he is dirty, filthy, and there's stuff that he says that you'd never expect to come out of his mouth.
Right.
So don't go thinking that dirty comedy is gone today, because it's really
no,
not.
it's sure not, and I
You
hope it's
gotta know
not. I
gotta
love
know
dirty
your venue.
comedy, but
Yeah.
what are we being dirty about, right?
You're right.
Is my question.
But don't ask Tracy Morgan, because it can
that's
get
fine.
really uncomfortable.
But he's also insane, right? Or at least
there's
that's
no
his
doubt about
character,
it.
So,
yeah,
sure.
and he's funny. Okay, so if somebody wants to it's very important to learn how to do stand-up. And it can be one of the most difficult things to do in the world when you're facing an audience, large or small. Sometimes smaller is even tougher, but it can be really tough.
The hardest show I ever did was in front of 2 people.
Yeah.
At a hotel in
it's always
Ohio.
hard for the comedy club owners, too, I have to tell you.
Yeah,
like,
me and the owner, neither of us liked his jokes.
Yeah.
So it was just us.
It's funny, right? It's funny how that works. So explain how people can partake.
You can go to uptownimprov.com or utcany.org, and we've got a list of all our shows. Not shows. We're not having shows right now. All of our classes we're having. We're going to be having shows. We actually, Ryan and I were talking about programming. We're hoping to turn even that little classroom space we're using into a little nightly stage for people to show their talent.
Does the educational aspect of this open you guys up to more funding opportunities?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
So the main driver at the Uptown right now is education. Right. We're not a theater. We are a community education. Organization that happens to operate in a building that has an old theater in it. So yes, we are. Very much focused on education. We're starting with improv and stand-up, writing and sketch writing. We've got some classes for kids now. We're going to start building out into music and some other things. So it's very much, we want it to be a learning center where people can come and share their talents and learn from each other. And like Ryan, we're trying to find people that have specific talents to bring in and share those talents and help teach each other and learn from each other.
And it's also very important to point out this is a totally supportive environment. Like, we make sure we maintain a very creative, like, ensemble workshop type of environment, so everybody feels welcome and everybody can explore their talents in a comfortable way.
What is funny?
If it's funny, it's just funny. That's a Mike Myers quote. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. There's a lot of science and stuff like that that can go into it, language and just semantics and stuff. But if it's funny, it's funny.
I think Groucho Marx it was that said tragedy is when you cut your finger. I cut my finger. I'm sorry. I'm killing this. Tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall in a sewer and die. So I like that take.
lot of different versions.
There's a lot of different versions,
Yeah.
and we're trying to figure it out. But I mean, we have some books where there are graphs and charts, you know, and that's what we're having a lot of fun figuring out, and a lot of pattern stuff and psychological stuff, learning why things are funny.
All right, one more time, how people can get into the classes.
UptownImprov.com. We're adding new classes all the time. Come check them out. We're having weekly drop-in classes if you want to just come check one out to see how it goes. We're actually also adding a weekly open mic to come tell jokes, both for the students and the general public if you want to come try yourself out.
Good deal. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Devin
you so much
and
for
Ryan.
having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
We
This is
appreciate it. 7:33. Hold on tight. We'll come back. I want to talk about the governor's visit, the DOT, the cleanup of the snow. How much snow did we get? Was it the worst storm ever? No. Was it worthy of the governor coming in? We'll talk to Jim Piccola of the DOT. And Hobike's free money question of the day coming up at WIBX. Ready to go?
Ready as I'll be.
It's worth $100. Boy, I got to tell you something. It's amazing that your name, Candy, is such a cool name, because our question this morning is about names.
Oh.
Okay. You ready to go?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Lenny Bruce's, you have 7 seconds. Lenny Bruce's wife's name is oftentimes a man's nickname for his woman. What is it? Ready, go. So we're looking for his wife's name. All right, what did you say again? You blurted an answer. Do you remember what it was? I mean, you got to remember. Okay, now it's too late. It's too late.
Is it something like Honey?
Yeah.
Honey. You
That's
said
her first
Honey.
name?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
I knew no one would know it, so I thought I'd throw a clue in. So Lenny Bruce's wife's name is oftentimes a man's nickname for his woman.
Honey!
That's exactly it. I thought I was giving his money away. We'd be on a streak.
No.
We gave 500, then another 100. You'd have been another C note. Well, but I will give you Candy. Candy. Her name is Candy. Like some guys would have a nickname. Come on over here, Candy.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Sweetie,
though, right?
yeah.
Sweetie. Sweetie would be a good one.
You know,
My wife's nickname used to be, I can't say
Easy.
it. It's, yeah. I think I told you guys.
you did.
Would it be wrong to say it?
Yes, please don't.
Oh.
Go ahead if you want to.
It was chlamydia. I always thought.
I told you not to say it.
You did.
Now, see, listen. We
I bet
just
you
had
only
the-
called her that once.
Only once.
Yeah.
It was a nickname once. And it had, I just think it's such a beautiful word.
So Bill's face when he called his wife that got really red, and actually one side of his face was quite redder than the other side, and I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, that's weird. Imagine if butterfly were a sexually transmitted disease, right? The word butterfly.
Well, butterflies are prettier than the word butterfly, though, right?
I guess,
Like
maybe.
the actual
Yeah.
butterfly.
Yeah. Anyway, Candy, your name is beautiful. I just want you to know that. And this is going down a wrong road, so I'm just going to stop right now. The word was honey we were looking for, but I will give you to the 72 Tavern and Grill a gift card worth $25, okay?
Okay,
And
great,
we've got some cool stuff here.
And
So
explain what you're doing
Our
here.
friends at UTR,
We're not done yet,
WUTR,
Candy.
They've got a great lineup. So they gave us some. They're giving away $100 each night. I believe between 9 and 10. You have to be
I
watching,
saw that
right?
on TV during the game.
So to help promote this, they gave us a big box of I guess what do you call it? Swag?
Yeah.
Swag, right. So this, for instance, this is a
It's not as nice as Bill Morehouse's, but
Last Man Standing on Fox, like flannel shirt, and there's men's ones and women's ones. There's fanny packs. You know, those are making a comeback from Family Guy. This is cool. I might actually keep this one for
Actually,
myself.
that's Jim's
that's super
gift.
cool.
You already
Oh, do you
took
want
enough
that,
stuff for
Jim? Here,
yourself
take
there,
it,
Jeff.
take it. So we have a ton of stuff here. Smitty, come in here with the jacket.
And a lot of this stuff is tied to television programs.
Absolutely. It's all branded with a TV. Our man Smitty's going to come in. He's got a jacket. It says Orville on the back. Get on camera.
model
Nobody
it.
can see you.
Look at Davey
Yes,
Smith.
that's right. Just like this is like our own
modeling the
Forever
fall-
Leather. Yeah, the Orville. Turn around. There you go. So anyway,
is that a TV show on Fox, Orville?
That's
they're
Seth
all from Fox,
MacFarlane
yeah.
from who created Family Guy
okay.
is actually in that show.
Do you have to work today, Candy? Are we holding you up?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to give you something. What
so
are we
anyway,
giving?
yeah. So
Okay.
when she comes in, we're going to have the box up front, and go ahead, grab something out of it, and it'll go along great with your
Okay.
gift certificate.
Cool.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
You can have the fanny pack. I don't want that.
I wouldn't want that
All right,
either.
I will take it.
Thank you, Candy. Davey's going to hook you up with his brand new jacket. He's going to take care of you, so sit tight. In studio right now is Jim Piccola. James, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So you guys were all prepped and ready to go for the big storm. Thankfully, the governor came in and told you what you had to do and how to do it. I know you won't comment on that, but I apologize.
He was just glad to see me there, right, Jim?
So what are your thoughts on the storm and how it was handled? I think the roads were in really good shape this weekend.
Yeah. No, I do. I commend the governor.
Yes.
He started out
I
in
did
Buffalo
criticize
and
him
worked,
earlier a little bit,
and
so.
he worked his way, to the east. And again, I think his thing was to bring awareness.
Yeah.
And because safety is our number one thing.
I have to tell you,
and
the roads were pretty quiet. People really did not want to get out and drive in this stuff.
Exactly, and I think that was his point. You could put out travel advisories, everything, and I think it was just an added thing for him to come out to these, different areas and let folks know. Even our local officials were on board with the same thing. So I think it worked out well, and I think our folks did an amazing job, throughout, not only here in the region, but throughout the state.
Is the brine, does it work? Is it working? Is it working as a preventative measure? What's the game plan with the brine? Because I still see it. Some municipalities are using it quite a lot.
Yeah, for this, though, because we've already had quite a bit of salt down on the roads, even though we didn't have a lot of snow this winter, you did have icy stuff. So we already had a lot of pre-treat down.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we were kind of waiting for the event, and, you plow it, you put your salt down. But as we're dispensing our salt, we have these saddlebags on the sides of the trucks.
Okay.
And they have the liquid brine in them.
Right.
So as the salt is being dispensed, it's being sprayed onto the salt, which makes it activate a little bit, and then also stick to the pavement instead of being out on the shoulders and stuff.
The problem is when it is, where are we right now? What's the temperature right now?
-9.
It is still -9 here? Oof. When we're below zero, or even in the single digits, or even in the teens, when it's that cold, it's kind of hard to keep the snow off the roads.
Absolutely. And one thing they'll do now is they'll put salt. Most of the snow is cleared. They'll put salt onto the roads, and then as you get traffic on it, the traffic will help wear that in.
Right,
and then we'll scrape it off.
How about snow removal? Where are we at on that? And I know that a lot of private companies were struggling on Sunday morning, especially, to get the parking lots cleaned up. And in the beginning, there'll be snow removal, but in the beginning, they're just kind of plowing it around to give people a place to park.
Yeah, absolutely. And what our guys, I know last night talking to one of the folks down at the residency, they were on the arterial, the concrete median barriers in the center and on the shoulders. They were cleaning alongside that in case you have cars like ramp up on that. So they were cleaning all that, and then we'll get back to, like, say, on North Genesee Street to John Street ramps, cleaning those sidewalk areas off and stuff so people can get through. So a lot of the, the little details will be cleaned up in the next couple days here.
All right. How does it affect your construction projects?
Our contractor was off today.
Today for Martin Luther King Day.
They'll be coming in, and probably they'll spend the next day or two, clearing the area to be able to work.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. We just really appreciate everybody with their patience, and like I said, we're always trying to make the road safer.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Jim Piccola, we appreciate it. I have opinion on a few things that were done but I don't want to put you in a position where you're.
Go ahead.
I just think the ban on the buses and the tractor trailers. Are you hitting your? Maneski's hitting his head. I just think the ban on the buses and tractor trailers was problematic because I saw a lot of those guys pull over on the thruway. I was on the thruway during the time, and where do they go? And if you don't see the alert or hear it on the news, which you're already on the thruway, some of these guys probably didn't even know that there was a ban on tractor trailers.
They're keyed into a lot of different things, and again, if they were stopped on the thruway, I'm sure that the troopers talk to them, get them off, give them a chance. But again, I think the governor's initiative there was to get these folks off the road, so that it's safer for everyone else, safer for them, and then able to plow because. You have one tractor trailer, jackknife, or whatever. Now you're impacting hundreds, maybe thousands of people.
Fair enough.
Depending.
And I got to tell you, once that snow started coming down, it went from very calm and very clear to very snowy quickly on Saturday.
Absolutely.
This thing moved in pretty quickly. So, all right, I think the roads have been in great shape. So, congratulations on that.
Appreciate that.
He has 10 vinyl records that you should be on the lookout for coming up in 2019.
So these are being released this year, or they're
no,
old?
They're old.
Okay.
That you might not think are all that valuable, but they are.
Okay. The only one I know that I have, and this is the only record I can ever remember as a child, but my grandmother's got a couple boxes of them, is the Chipmunks Christmas album.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
well, you can ask him about that.
I don't think it's on the list.
I don't think it's worth all that much. The Patriots beat the Chiefs 37-31 in overtime to win the AFC Championship last night and move on to the Super Bowl. We were just talking about it. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm a Bills fan, so I really hate the Patriots. Mm-hmm. However, there's a part of me that's like, wow, Brady is kind of a little bit of in your face right there, right?
Absolutely.
And going to Gronkowski when he needed him. They didn't use Gronkowski all that much, but he became like a little secret weapon for them in that offense yesterday.
Yeah, and he was blocking well. And
yeah.
then he was an option in the pass. And then can somebody please guard Julian Edelman over the middle with the slant? I mean, how many times are you going to go to the well before you say,
I know,
you can't come here anymore?
How about Edelman almost cost him the game.
Yeah.
But he got him there, right? Without him, they would never have even been in the position. But then, he had two bad, I'm pretty sure two rough plays. One where he just tipped it, and it could have been an interception. The other where it was a turnover. But Brady went right back to him.
Yeah.
And he made those very key catches. And then there's the Saints-Rams game. And here's the final call of that one. I want to talk about the penalty.
Bad snap. The kick is good. Rams win it, and on to Super Bowl 53 they go.
All right, so if you're a Saints fan, you're saying you got ripped off.
Yeah,
and you did, because if that pass interference call gets called, they now can burn the clock, hit the field goal with just seconds remaining, game over.
Yeah, absolutely. I do hate to see Sean Payton out there blaming the refs or saying, we kind of got screwed out of this. I totally agree. It's a horrible call. It should have been called for two reasons. Should have been pass interference. And if not pass interference, then defenseless receiver, because the guy basically speared him head first. I don't know how there's not a call on that. Boomer Esiason was appalled that there was no call in the studio after the game yesterday. But the other thing is this. That happens. They kick a field goal.
Change the outcome of the game and the outcome of the bet.
Oh, it did it?
Absolutely. It was the Saints were giving up 3 points.
Okay.
And they ended up losing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but they kicked the field goal. I'm just talking about, aside from the betting, the opportunity to win. They had a chance to stop the Rams, and they didn't. And then overtime, Breeze threw a pick in overtime, right?
Fair enough,
and,
yep.
So I totally understand. That's what I was concerned about, in fact, jumping into the Kansas City game was however the call went on the punt and whether or not Edelman touched it, the losing team in that game was going to say, well, we got screwed on that.
And that played no role.
And it actually didn't. There was so much that happened after that. You can't make that argument. But I hate that when it makes people have excuses as to why. There were still opportunities to win the games for the Saints. That call, having said that call should have been made. No doubt about it.
A couple things on the games yesterday, side stuff. During the Saints-Rams game, a lot of people on Twitter noticed a nonstop whistling in the crowd. Did you notice it?
Yeah, they were whistling.
Yeah. It was actually a famous Saints fan. He's known as Leroy the Whistle Monster Mitchell. And he's well known if you're a Saints fan.
Well, they said on the halftime report, by the way, during the game, was not only that Leroy the Whistle Monster was there, although they didn't mention him by name, but they said a lot of Saints fans had brought whistles to the game, which you're not supposed to be able to do that.
No. Melissa Etheridge sang the national anthem at the Patriots game. She was good. By the time it was over with, she was really good. Done in Melissa Etheridge style. But Jimmy Buffett, people are criticizing, saying they were disappointed in Jimmy Buffett's rendition of the national anthem. And I got to tell you, I don't know why. If you know Jimmy Buffett, he is not the guy. Jimmy Buffett is not, that Jimmy. He has golden pipes.
Yeah, right.
You don't think of Jimmy Buffett as that way.
Silly lyrics is what it is.
Yeah, and he sings the fun stuff. That,
Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Margaritaville. But to be upset that I just didn't think you did a great job in the anthem. You should expect that. That's Jimmy Buffett. He's not someone that's going to go in and sing a really complicated song. That's not his thing. Jimmy Buffett's a guy that does fun songs, Margaritaville songs. So, but everybody's some are saying it might have been disrespectful. I do not believe that.
Oh.
For 1 minute. Mighty John, the record guy. Nobody knows vinyl like John, and it is, in vinyl right now, is so popular. But, John, do you look at some of these records that are being sold in places like Barnes & Noble? You get Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Yeah, you can have Fleetwood Mac Rumors. It'll only cost you $39.99. It's like, what? Where is this coming from? I mean, I could go to a garage sale and pick it up for 50 cents.
Now, there's an unsolved mystery.
There is an unsolved mystery. You're absolutely right. Oh, Lordy.
I think it should be James Earl Jones.
That would be really good.
It would.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right.
Morgan Freeman.
The voice has got to be something special. If they come back with some, non-influential voice, it would be awful.
Yeah, can you imagine if Fat Albert was doing it? Hey, here's an unsolved mystery.
Of all the things to come up with.
I don't know why that's just...
I don't get it.
My brain is frozen this morning.
It's kind of a curse to be on that show because all the hosts died.
I know.
Is Farina dead?
I think he did die.
I mean, we're all going to die, let's be honest.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
So you've got...
Did Dennis Farina have
he
mysterious circumstances surrounding his death?
I guess I don't know how he sounded. I don't remember him.
He was the guy from Law and Order.
Yeah, he was one of the detectives.
Dennis Farina.
Yeah, that won't work.
New York guy, yeah. And it didn't work.
It's it's interesting on a holiday, John. It's amazing the things that
he had like a aneurysm, pulmonary embolism.
He did. Oh, so he is dead. It's amazing the things that we talk about on a holiday when things are a little slower. Government shut down. We're sick of that story. So
hey, things are slow.
Let's talk Fat Albert. All righty then. So this is. Tell me about this list here. These are 10 records that we should maybe be on the lookout for in 2019.
Right. Well, there are a million you should be on the lookout
You're
for,
right.
but I picked 10,
Good
a little
point.
mismatch of everything.
Yeah.
And we'll start with 10 and count down to the really big number.
Okay. All right. I'm excited.
At number 10, 1985, Motown Legends featuring Michael Jackson, currently up to $400.
So that was just boy. I got to tell you, that's one you might have, right? It wouldn't be all that surprising for you to have it. So that was basically a greatest hits compilation, but it included Michael Jackson.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, it was 1985, and this one from 1994. During this period, mostly people were buying CDs, and so buying the vinyl would have been rare.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, the Wildflowers album, currently up to $400 as well.
What was on that album? What hits were on that album?
I don't think there were any. I can't think of any hits.
Yeah. Okay.
One-hit wonder is the Cascades. Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain. The value was for the stereo copy of the album up to $450.
I think we talked about this the last time we had you on. Oftentimes you have albums from the 60s where they weren't sure which way to go. So they would do sometimes a mono or a stereo or both, right?
Right. Absolutely. They did both in this case. The mono copy would be worth up to about $100.
And the interesting thing was, how did it work? So if you had, sometimes you'd have one of those albums that you'd play, and it would sound a little weird, sound a little funny. That's because you weren't getting the full stereo version. It was stereo, and you weren't getting the full version of it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, if you were playing stereo on your hi-fi, you wouldn't necessarily hear everything.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And the Allman Brothers, their very first album, 1969. Hard to believe. Allman Brothers, currently up to $500.
Wow. What's the label on that one?
Atco Capricorn. Capricorn was a division of Atco Records, which was a division of Atlantic Records. But it would say Atco Capricorn on the label.
Okay. All right. Next up.
Well, the blues are very collectible. Look for Muddy Waters, the best of Muddy Waters, Chess Records, also up to $500. The Beatles, got to have Beatles. She Loves You on Swan Records. A lot of people have it. If you have a copy and the label is black, it's up to $50. But if the label is white with red print, then it's up to $600.
Wow.
She Loves You.
Okay.
96 Tears, question mark, and the Mysterians, one-hit wonders. Most people would have it on Cameo Records, worth up to about $20, but the original label was a small label called Pagogo Records. And on that label, 96 Tears up to $800.
Wow, that's a great song, by the way.
Great record.
And it was actually a question mark. The name of the group was actually a question mark. So it's question mark and the Mysterians. Okay. All right. Next up.
Question mark's real name was, you know?
I don't know that.
It's on the tip
Rudy
of my
Martinez.
Okay. Was that really on the tip of your tongue, Andrew?
No, I wasn't. I was thinking of something.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Was it Elvis?
Like a frozen pole.
All right. Final three. Here we go.
Beach Boys, big album. Rolling Stone says the second greatest album of all time, Pet Sounds. And here's a case where the mono copy is what you want. Mono up to $800.
All right, this next one blows my mind because it is, I always had a version of this song. I played in bands, high school bands. So every band, if you grew up playing in a band in the 1970s, you played this song. And I know I had an original 45 of this, but there's a rare version. So explain the value here of this next song.
Yeah, I can remember the lyrics to this song. That's
me too. Yeah.
Wipeout by the Surfaris, perhaps the greatest instrumental surf record of all time. Most people have it on Dot Records, worth up to about $10. But the original label here was called DFS Records, and on that label, up to $4,500.
$4,500.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the label again?
D is in dog, F is in Frank, S is in Sam.
Okay, DFS. All right.
Yes.
I'm sure I don't have that one because I never had the winning lottery ticket. And finally, the biggie that you have here to look out for in 2019.
Rolling Stones, very collectible. Look for their album Big Hits, High Tide, and Green Grass. Now, a lot of people have the album, but you got to look at the cover. If the words Big Hits, High Tide, and Green Grass are in uppercase lettering, then it's up to about $75. But if it's in lowercase lettering, then it's up to $7,500.
Wow. So that would be capital B, a lowercase I, lowercase g, capital...
No, everything would be lowercase.
Everything would be in lowercase. So was that a mistake? Is that why that was...
No, first issues were lowercase, and it just didn't pop. It just didn't show up good enough. They figured, people are going to pass this over, so bam, quickly put out the one with the big uppercase letter.
So they made the switch. So if you have a copy of the one with lowercase, $7,500.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that would be the typical London label for the Rolling
London,
Stones.
Yes, London.
Kathy in Rome has a question for. By the way, those are the top 10 records to look for in 2019. You never know. You might have something worth a lot of money. Kathy in Rome with a question for Mighty John, the record guy. Kathy, you're on the radio. Go ahead.
Good morning. I have an old RCA record, and it's very heavy. It's When Lindy Comes Flying Home. Is it worth anything?
You have an old 78. Most of those old 78s you want to remember, just because they're old doesn't mean they're worth money.
Oh, it plays
and
good.
I guess you talked about Charles Lindbergh.
It plays well. Will that change anything, John?
Now, to a record collector, no. But to somebody that collects historical memorabilia, it may have some value. But no more than $10 to a record collector.
All right.
And even that, the fact that it's in really good shape would help with the $10, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Condition is everything.
The difference between $10 and $7.
Kathy, and I'm sorry about Michigan over the weekend.
Michigan State.
Michigan plays tonight.
Oh, it's tonight. It must have been Michigan that lost over the weekend.
Went down.
Michigan State tonight. And I wonder where Syracuse will be. They have to crack the top 25 today. We'll see what happens.
They will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You did mention on 78s. By the way, I think 78s, there's some really cool-looking old labels on 78 records.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, old 78s that are blues 78s.
Well, I was going to bring that part up. But first of all, I was going to tell you, old 78s make for great clocks. You can go over to like the craft store, buy one of those little clock things, a clock, and you screw it into the hole where you would, and it becomes a clock. You hang it on the wall. It looks really nice.
A lot of people do that, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
However, if you have a 78 that is... So there are some 78s that are worth something, and one of the issues would be blues, right?
Well, there's a category known as pre-war blues, and these are blues 78s that came out prior to World War II. Extremely collectible. Robert Johnson, perhaps the best-known father of the blues, he put out 26 78s, each one worth over $10,000.
Wow. So it would be wise if you see anything that has blues on it that is 78, it would be wise to pick it up at a garage sale or something like that. Yeah.
And what was the name again on the artist?
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
What about, by the way, if anybody has any quick questions, do you have a few minutes, John, before we let you go? Any quick questions? If you have something at home or you're wondering, 315-736-0186, I'll squeeze in a couple. I have a couple of minutes here. John, I wanted to ask you about Sinatra.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, I have a ton of, 78 Sinatra.
Well, most of his 78s are going to be on Columbia or Capitol, and he does have some very collectible records, but not everything by him. The Columbia and the Capitol ones are generally up to around $30 to $40. His first one was on Brunswick. That's his first label. And on Brunswick, they'd be up to around $2,000.
Wow. Now, that would be a 78.
Yes.
All right. You never know on this stuff. You just never know. Tawny in Schuyler with a question for Mighty John.
Hey, back to the Rolling Stones with More Hot Rocks, Big Hits, and Phased Cookies. Did you say that it should be lowercase for the Big Hits and Phased Cookies part, but uppercase for the More Hot Rocks?
Go ahead.
Big Hits, High Tide, and Green Grass, not Hot Rocks.
Oh, I thought it was Big Hits and Phased Cookies. Oh, sorry about that.
No,
I thought I was sitting here with a bunch of money in my hand, but I guess not.
Don't we all?
Thanks a lot.
Was that in lowercase, by the way? That probably wasn't in lowercase, right?
It was lowercase for the Big Hits and Phased Cookies part, but not the More Hot Rocks.
What would that be worth, John? Anything?
No, that's not a big. It's up to about $30 to $40.
$30 to $40.
Never mind. Okay,
But
thanks so much.
If you had 100 of those, you'd get, you'd be talking thousands. So. All right, Tony.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Alan, you're on the radio with Mighty John, the record guy. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, how about Charlie Manson's album?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there are people that pay money for it. I see them sell for about $50.
Lordy, look what happened there. By the way, John, now you have a Stephen King connection where you live.
Well, I actually started doing this because of him. I was doing research for him back in the 80s, and we were in his office, and he's got the stereo blasting all the time, and records scattered all over the floor, and he's in his big chair with the wheels, and he rolled over the Beatles, Meet the Beatles, and I said, hey, man, you just broke a $100 album at that time. He goes, well, what are you talking about? And I told him, that's what it's worth on the collector's market. And he said, well, why don't you tell people?
Yeah.
I thought, maybe I will.
And that's how it started.
Wow.
So our claim to fame is Manson, believe it or not.
Oh,
and
really?
when he asked the question about Charles Manson, Squeaky Fromm lives probably 5 minutes from our radio studio. That's where she's living her post-prison life. So I wonder what happens if someone goes out, like if the guy who just called in went and actually had her signature on a Charles Manson record. Does that change anything? Not necessarily Charles Manson, but in terms of, if you got Paul McCartney to sign Hey Jude, I would assume that would increase the value.
Only if you can prove that he signed it. If you can't, it could actually hurt the value.
An interesting thing on this, and I think John will agree. So that's kind of niche. So for a record collector, that might not increase the value, but for like a Manson collector, it would probably go through the roof.
Yeah, that's interesting. One more. I have Tom.
Squeaky on the show.
Squeaky, listen, we've been working on that, but
word
is
the voice of Unsolved Mysteries right there.
You're absolutely right. Word is
what happened to the producer when he tried to book Squeaky
word
from?
Is trying to actually book her doesn't actually go very well. So my thoughts are we might want to leave it alone. Tom, you're on with Mighty John. Last one I'll squeeze in here.
Okay, got a quick question. I've got an Elvis record. It's Elvis's Golden Records. It's back from the 50s.
Yes.
I'm trying to find a date on exact date. I can't find a date on it, but
so that is
there's Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4. Does it say anything about a volume on it?
I can hardly hear you.
Does it say anything about a volume? Which volume that is?
Okay, it says, oh boy, LPM 11707C RCA.
It should be right on the cover to say, right on the main cover, it'll tell you Golden Hits Volume.
No, the first one.
There's nothing. It just says Golden Hits. Got a picture of them.
Okay.
Oranges color.
Yep. All right, John, what do you think?
Yeah, well, he's going to monocopy because he said LPM. That means mono. So it's up to about $100.
Okay.
Hey, no problem.
That's not bad. Is it in good shape, Tom?
Yes, it is.
Well, there you go.
I remember buying it in the PX in Germany.
You bought it in Germany. What do you think? Does that change anything, John?
No.
Not at all. Okay, sorry.
Hey,
I was trying.
Give me a number of Squeaky so I can ask her out.
Because I got to tell you, if she signs that Elvis album, that could have some real value.
I'm on my way.
All right, Tom.
You guys keep laughing. For the record, I'm not laughing at any of these jokes.
No,
okay,
we're
just
all
letting you know.
Gerald Ford come tomorrow. Okay, John, this was quite entertaining today, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Meanwhile, you can find the value of any record at my website, moneymusic.com.
Moneymusic.com.
All lowercase, right, John?
All lowercase. All right, good stuff. Thank you, John.
Take care.
All right. The wall and border security and DACA and a deal, and who knows, maybe it will lead to something this week. Already the Democrats have said no deal, but it looks like the Senate's going to pick this up. John Decker, to give us a little bit of an update here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day as to where we stand going into what week number are we up to now?
We're on day 31.
Day 31.
A full month that this has been going on.
Wow.
And there's nothing new to report in terms of movement in ending this government shutdown, this partial government shutdown. No new talks are scheduled between the president and congressional leaders today, nothing that we know of this week. So this partial government shutdown is going to continue. That proposal that the president put forward Saturday, essentially called dead on arrival by Democratic leaders in both the House and the Senate. So nothing that I think the president said mollified them in any way.
Can I ask, a friend of mine who's a big Trump supporter said the president was offering all types of concessions, DACA. He was going to limit where the border would be in place, but he wanted the $5.7 billion.
TPS he was going to give extension to.
There would also be the hiring of personnel, so it wouldn't be exclusively the wall, but it would be $5.7 billion for border security, and he was giving up a lot. Pelosi said it's a non-starter. Is that accurate? What's your take on it?
It is accurate. Everything that you said is accurate. I think that one of the problems that Democrats have with this compromise that the president put forward is that the issue for those DACA recipients, the 800,000 or so dreamers, it's just temporary. And what Democrats want is a path to citizenship for those individuals. So for that reason, it's a non-starter. The other reason they say it's a non-starter is because they want the president to open the government first, and then they can talk about all these issues. And so for those two reasons, Democrats say they're not going to be supportive. And even if it passes the Senate, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that she will not take up this particular proposal in the House.
Here's the problem, and I think that like any negotiation, if we could only just sit down and talk, we could get somewhere. Because ultimately, while the president is saying Democrats don't want border security, that's really not true. And while Democrats say the president, all he wants to do is to create this gigantic wall so he can put his name on it, that's really also not true. So if they could get in the middle and really talk it out, I think something could get done, because maybe it means a permanent fix to the DACA situation, and maybe it means a wall in certain parts and drones in other parts and more border security. The problem you have here, though, is for Nancy Pelosi, she has her base, and they don't want anything that includes wall for the president. But on the other side, you have the president, when you think he might be starting to work a deal, you have someone from the right calling in and saying, Ann Coulter in this case, mocking the president, saying, I thought we elected Trump. Apparently we elected Jeb Bush. So they both have their sides tugging at them. And that kind of makes you feel, John, like maybe there is no chance for a deal here.
Well, I agree with everything that you said, and it's intuitive in the sense that what the president is putting forward is his best offer to date that we know of, but it's unsatisfactory to some conservatives, Rush Limbaugh and Coulter, and then on the flip side you have the progressives in the Democratic Party who are not supportive of anything that would include funding for a border wall. But to your point, if the two sides are at least talking to each other, that moves the conversation forward. Right now, there are no talks scheduled between the president and congressional leaders.
Because I do wonder if the president were to say, okay, we'll come up with a permanent fix on DACA, I think you could get Democrats to move.
Yeah.
But will his base allow him to make that concession?
Good question. You know, I think that this type of proposal was put forward in early December. In actuality, it included $25 billion in border security for the president. None of that for a border wall, but $25 billion in border security, including, and for the Democrats, it would have included a permanent solution, a path to citizenship for those DACA recipients. You had some Senate Democrats who were supportive of that. The problem was the House Republicans because of the path to citizenship for those DACA recipients. And that's where you get into some problems. You know, the president needs to have his base give him some leeway so as to get some sort of deal with Democrats.
We're in such an all-or-nothing world that we live in here today where it's just so hard to get anything done. If you are not willing to concede, how do you get anything done?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, compromise works when each party feels, you know, I didn't get everything that I wanted, but I got most of what I wanted, and we're just not there yet.
As always, we appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
John Decker from Fox News. I thought when the president was coming out and the announcement came that he was going to be making a very important announcement on Saturday. I'm like, wow, they've come up with a deal. It's going to end like we had called for like a week ago. There's no way they can allow this thing to go on any longer. Well, that's not true.
We're 31 days in, as John said, and did you think it was going to last this long?
Nope.
And there's no end in sight here.
Nope. The best shot, I think, is this DACA stuff, where I think you could get moderate Democrats to
That's a good point.
to move. But I'm not sure that the president. When you got Ann Coulter out there saying, you know, you're a Jeb Bush, you know how the president reacts to stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he should understand that she's very
Well,
provocative.
he'd have to take another step, though. Not a temporary fix, but it would have to be a permanent fix.
Yeah.
And I don't think I see that. I don't think I see that happening.
He's got an opportunity to stop kicking the can. He would lead both sides in just not kicking the can.
It would be huge.
There would be a permanent resolution here.
That would be enormous, as opposed to saying we're looking at another shutdown over this issue in another how many months or weeks. I think they were talking about a 4-week extension to put this whole thing together. All right, we've got a break. We'll wrap this this Monday morning up, this Martin Luther King Day up in just a second. Hold on tight. Coming right back at WIBX. As long as I have you in here, Rick, I have some racial questions I want to ask.
Oh, great. I go on the show last. I'm not saying on MLK Day, and now you want to throw racial questions at me.
Oh, come on. Why does he get to answer the racial questions?
I
Why
mean,
can't
I
I
know.
answer them?
You know,
Well,
it's insulting.
How about, did anybody see the, I have a whole bunch of race stuff I want to get into.
Oh, I'm sure we got a lot of time for that.
I
Go on.
finally have a black guy in the studio. We get to ask some questions.
Yeah, but I had to pay for admission. And twice as much as these guys.
All right, let me start with the Irishman from Little Falls.
Here we
Tom
go.
in Little Falls. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Good morning. I just thought I would remind the people of Irish ancestry that today is the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the Irish War of Independence in 1919.
No, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Well, it is also that.
It's also Monday.
Yes.
It is. Well, that is awesome, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tom, and I would not expect anything less from you.
Well, hey, it's part of the heritage, part of the culture to spread what we know of it to all the other people of the culture.
Very nice. All right, Tom, thanks, man.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yep, and Tom knows the Irish stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I want to throw some, but today is Martin Luther King
Oh, yes,
Jr.
it
Day.
is. Yes, it is.
So,
And of course, that's why I came down here to talk. But go right ahead.
It isn't, and we'll do your breakfast thing in a second.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I want it. Did anybody see this? Do we know who this David Webb is?
Former football player?
No, he's on Fox News.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe he's a talk show host, and he's on with an analyst from CNN.
Oh, Richard, listen up, because you said Bill wouldn't play this.
Oh, I'm all about this. I can't believe this, how this thing went down. Listen to this audio, how this actually happens. See if I can get it to play.
Oh, is this what
I've
you were
chosen to cross different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
Well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege. This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get into it.
Ariva, I hate to break it to
You have to
you,
invite-
but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Okay, then I stand.
See, you went to white privilege. This is the falsehood in this. You went immediately with an assumption. Your people, obviously, or you didn't look. You're talking to a black man who started out in rock radio in Boston, who crossed the paths into hip-hop, rebuilding one of the greatest black stations in America, and went on to work for Fox News, where I'm told apparently blacks aren't supposed to work.
What do we think of that? How about that?
Well, yeah, that's exciting. And it's very racial. But I will tell you, when I was in the band I was in, and would go to a radio interview, and we're going to Rochester, and I can't remember the guy's name, Uncle somebody. He was on the air.
Yeah.
And we were going to be on his show. And the guy I was with, he was white, and he's like, oh, he's my favorite
Is
guy
it
on the radio.
uncle or brother?
I don't remember.
Oh, it was Brother Weeze. I can only.
And he says, and I was laughing. Somehow the came subject. Oh, what if he's black? Oh, yeah, that's right. We get there, and he was, and I said, see. And then a few years later, I was.
They thought that you might be. What if you were black?
Yeah. Right. And then they saw him. And then when I was on the radio at OUR, I can say that now because they're right in the same building.
Anyway, yeah, we own them now.
It was true there. Too. People assume because you speak in a manner or you're on a rock radio station playing the big hits.
The horrible phrase is you don't sound black.
Oh my God!
Right, and that is exactly that. So, and this is a great example of what sounds the color of a person's skin.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of people take it shallow when they start talking about like colors and sex. They take it on a superficial level. When you say, oh, this is a women's rock, you don't really mean only women. It's that style of music. When you say urban, you don't mean black people listen to it. Or maybe if you say country, it's probably a lot of country people. And a lot of,
Charlie Pride.
Yeah, there you go.
The guy from Hootie and the Blowfish.
The guy from Hootie and the Blowfish. And every time I see that stupid commercial.
Is his name Hootie?
It's Darius Rucker.
No,
it's not.
When you see this country radio station plays, he's in that every single time. They change the other artists, but he's in there every single time.
But I found that was a really interesting how you had better be careful when you kind of pass judgment on something because you never know.
Right, and I think a lot of those attributes are not necessarily for that type of person. I mean, you might see, Eminem, gee, he's a white guy, but he sounds like a black guy.
Right.
And it's sort of a style and impression. When you say black music, you don't mean music for and by black people. There are a lot of white people.
We still here, even in 2019. Boy, do we have so much to learn, right? And so much to.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How about this? In Englewood, Colorado, there's a neighborhood there that has the nickname. Are you ready? Swastika Acres.
Get out of here!
Honest to God. And
Englewood,
they are considering.
California.
It's been there. This place has been there for 100 years before the Nazis even existed.
Wow.
And they now feel that because of the rhetoric in the world, they might change the name of the development.
Oh, now?
Shouldn't that have come in like 1946? Don't you think?
Yeah, probably. Oh, my gosh.
And then I wanted your take on the other newscaster that slipped up with the Martin Luther King, the coon.
Well, I heard that, and I think maybe it was offensive. And I guess you have to know the person, the character of a person saying something, because, I think one thing that happens a lot of times is people use certain derogatory terms which may refer to a woman, and they don't think twice of it in the company of women,
right?
And they don't even think of it. But you don't really. I don't have anything against women. It's just an expression, and I think maybe he just.
In this case,
what is he like off the
right? In this case, even management is supporting him. They say he is not by any means like that. Doesn't use that word. But I propose that it's the Martin Luther King and June,
right?
And that is the trip up when you're screwing up,
right? And he's going, I'm a white guy going to do a thing on a black
Gets
guy,
all nervous
so I'm
and
all nervous.
Oh, my God.
I said the ultimate wrong
what
thing.
What did I just say? All right, quickly, I want you to promote. I'm glad you came today, and I appreciate that. I wish I had gotten
just
you
get
an
the
earlier.
racial. See, I was only brought here so you can have a black guy in the studio on MLK Day.
Oscar nominations.
That is, oh, my God.
Oscar nominations, you're having a breakfast.
We're having a breakfast.
Speaking of the Oscars, where people of color don't ever get nominated.
Oh,
but
well,
that
I wouldn't
changed.
say ever.
That has changed
Well,
tremendously.
it's always good to nominate somebody and vote for somebody else because it makes you look like you tried.
Well, we should be judging those on their merits.
Their merits, right.
So,
right.
But you out in Rome at the Capitol
tomorrow? Well, at the Cinema Capitol, the movie theater right next to it, we're having a live nominations breakfast starting at 7:30 tomorrow morning, and they actually hand them out at 8:20. But we get there a little early because and we'll
can have that coffee.
We'll have delicious coffee from right down the street at Cappuccino's Coffee
Very
House.
nice.
It just opened up downtown in Rome. So they're going to be over there pouring some complimentary coffee and pastries. And we're going to have a camera there and see how many people are crazy enough to come to a party to watch the Oscar nominations on the big movie screen.
That's pretty cool. That is tomorrow at about 8 o'clock.
Well, the announcements are about a little after 8, 8:20, 8:50. They'll talk it up for probably
So when do the doors open for this?
The doors 7:30.
7:30. So come in by 7:30.
Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning. When the announcements
in the morning.
made.
I know, isn't that the thing? 7:30. In the morning? Yes, in the morning.
This is going to be an interesting Oscars because there's no host this year.
There's no host.
Well, isn't it? Well, I confused. Did they announce Alicia Keys?
No.
That's the Grammys.
She's the Grammys. Yeah, she's the Grammys.
She's singing.
All right, call in tomorrow to plug it early, okay?
Yeah, we
and
will.
We'll do an on-air plug
maybe
for
I'll
you.
call you right during it. Hey, we're down here on the.
Let's do it.
The doors are blowing away. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, I'm glad I filled your quota for the day.
I gotta go. Gotta go.